Hey there, it's Jillian, your guide to all things joy, and this is the Joy Journey podcast. If you've ever struggled with self-sacrifice, imposter syndrome, fear, and worthiness in business and beyond, this episode is for you, my friends. Stay tuned for tips on how to move through the messy middle with as much grace as possible, embrace courage, and lead with absolute authenticity. As well, gain a whole lot of inspiration on this episode with my guest today. She brings courage, truth, vulnerability, and so much inspiration around things we don't often talk about as leaders. I remember seeing Mandy Balak's ACE Collective way back when, these events and brunches where everyone looked so inspired, connected, and engaged. And I dreamt of being a part of this community that she was building. Experiencing Mandy in her authenticity and in her leadership made me love her even more. I'm so excited to introduce you to Mandy and allow you to get a glimpse into what it looks like to lead with softness and strength and reclaim yourself in the places you may have forgotten so that you can bring yourself along for the journey. Hey there, it's Jillian, your guide to all things joy, and this is the Joy Journey podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Joy Journey podcast. I'm Jillian Shecker. Today, we're celebrating the launch of this podcast with Miss Mandy Balak. I actually have you in my phone as Mandy motherfucking Balak. Also, first swear of this podcast, right in the first sentence.
Well, you've set the context out. That was going to be my next question.
It's going to be explicit.
I forgot to check. Can we swear?
Definitely getting rated letter E.
Perfect.
But Mandy is the most inspiring woman. Like, I'm so excited to have you on and to share more about you and how much you inspire me on the reg.
I'm already crying. We're already crying that we're here.
Mandy.
You inspire me. And let's just start by celebrating you for taking action and doing this, because obviously the seed was planted in your heart however long ago. This was, something that you were really called to do. But I had the honor of sitting beside you when you actually spoke this out into the universe and made a commitment. And I think it was last June, or when was that?
Early June.
May?
Yeah,
early June. Yeah. And you're like, I have a secret. There's two camps. There's people that talk about what they're going to do and just keep talking about it. And then there's people that say what they're going to do and then they do it. Yeah. And there's, this is not easy. There's a lot of million pieces behind the scene to putting together a podcast. I know a lot of people are like, oh, we should do that. It's like, there's a lot that goes into it and a lot of thought and a lot of heart. And I know that you've been sitting in that for a long time. So I'm just celebrating you for just this part of the journey and getting to hear and what got you to this first episode today. And I'm truly honored that you invited me on to share this experience with you.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here.
Love you.
Yeah, it was May. We said what we're going to do. And I don't know if you still have yours, because I actually was thinking about it this morning. Like, what did you share with, like, what are you up to? And do you remember? And also you do.
Yeah.
Are you going to share?
If you want to get right into let's get right into it. Let's go.
Or we're just diving in.
We're just do it. Yeah. I remember.
Okay. And I remember the essence of what it was, but I do know that I accidentally threw out the book 2 weeks ago. And I was like, what is this dumb notebook?
Well, that's because I took a photo and I texted to you. And so I have photo evidence. I'll have to look back and pull it up after the episode. But
okay.
Yours was, I'm going to start a podcast.
Yes.
And mine was, I'm going to be more honest with myself.
Wow.
Yeah. And here we are talking about leadership. And I feel like that's the foundational part of it.
Yeah.
It's owning who we are. It's owning our mistakes. It's owning our truth.
Yes.
I think authentic leadership is really just like the journey of how you're leading yourself. If you're going to lead other people, it's how do you lead yourself? And if you're lying to yourself, if you're not looking at the things that are holding you back, you're going to really struggle to move forward. You're going to really struggle to drive a mission forward, to empower a team, to lead others to a destination. It's all about how you're leading yourself. So the be more honest for me, the essence came from not speaking my truth with a few people in my life. And I found that I I kept like making excuses on why I couldn't share my truth or why I couldn't shine bright or why I couldn't fully communicate like my needs. And there was just this old, this still like unhealed part of my little girl that was showing up and saying, your needs aren't important and your truth doesn't belong here. But that was all bullshit. And it was all made up by me. And it was just like parts of me that were not fully healed and embodied yet. And in making that commitment to myself, it was, I'm just going to I'm going to own it, and I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to be courageous, and I'm going to speak up. And in doing so, I actually gave the 2 or 3 people that this challenge was showing up for me, I gave them more of an opportunity to show up for me because I actually just said it. And they did. They met me there. And I was surprised in that. I was like, oh, wow, actually, my truth does belong here. Oh, wow, actually, that was received. Oh, wow, actually, I can have that. We can do that together. And it was a little messy and still continues to be something I have to work on. But it was a powerful exercise for me as well.
Wow, I'm just absolutely celebrating you. I feel emotional too. Are we just going to cry all day? That is so brave. And I 100% agree. The new era of leadership requires authenticity. And I think it's a next level that we're all kind of redefining, because self-deception is easy to do without even realizing it. And so I just really want to celebrate your courage to like actually do it. And I also agree, like, self-led, I call it like walking the walk. How can we lead others if we're not actively walking the walk? And it doesn't mean require perfection, but it requires self-truth. And I just, again,
Totally.
Absolutely inspiring.
Well, here's the thing, like this world doesn't need dimmed down leaders. We don't need leaders that are like, oh, what will they think of me? Oh, I don't know, maybe I'm too much. Oh, what, like, no, we do not need dimmed down leaders. We need leaders that are fully expressed, and we need leaders that are fully embodied, and we need leaders that are bought into their soul purpose. We need leaders that are bought into living their values, even if other people don't agree or don't receive that, because that means that they're courageous, they're bold, they're taking risks, they're blazing trails. Like if we just played it safe all the time, we would just how boring would that be for society? We'd all be wearing the same thing. We'd all be shopping at the same places. With like, people need to show us new paths. And that can only come from a leader that is bold enough to say, hey, I'm going to shine a light over here. And I know that might feel a little uncomfortable or a little strange for us right now because we haven't quite been there yet, but I'm going to be the one that's going to be bold enough to go first. Come with me.
Yeah. Come with me. That's right. The biggest piece. And I love that you found, by sharing your truth, that these people were willing to walk with you. Yeah. And that's leadership. It's scary, guys. Like, it's not fun. And it's, sometimes your ass is clenched and you're just like going for it. And I would say in leadership, we're even like, it brings up more of our programming, and there's an opportunity for even deeper healing when you walk this path so fully. And I would say, and I feel like this would point to what you're just saying around the alignment. Like, what are we even doing if we're not in alignment with our purpose, our joy, the things that actually light us up? Like, let's fucking go.
Yeah. I opened my notebook this morning and I just like have random Post-its like everywhere in my life. You know this about me. And I'm like, oh, this is a note from my past self to my future self. And this will come up and it says, leadership is the fast track to enlightenment. So my past self wrote us a little note for this. And just to unpack that a little bit, my belief on this is, I think when you put your hand up to be a leader of a mission, of a belief, this is the most self-revealing work you will ever do. Like, we don't understand this. We're like, oh yeah, that sounds good. But it's like, you have to really face yourself. And the more people that come along on that journey, the more mirrors you have staring back at you as well. And in my experience, my team every day is the biggest teacher for me. I'm like, ooh, I noticed that behavior. I noticed that. Oh, that's because you spot it. You got it. That's me. That's in me. Oh, another place I get to grow today.
YouSpotItYouGotIt.com.
Oh, another place I get to grow today. Oh, another part of me that is unhealed. Oh, like all of our stuff comes up in our business. You're only as healthy as your business is only as healthy as you are. So, everything from being courageous to having challenging conversations, looking at your money, forgiveness, so much of it, right? And your business, it's always just like a mirror staring back at you, showing you where you get to grow.
Yeah, it is a spiritual journey. Okay, I want to hear a little bit more. There's so many. I just can we talk all day? Is that legal?
I have a meeting at 10:30, so I have to.
No, there's just so much I want to dive into. So I would love to know, I want to go back and I want to hear kind of everything about Mandy Balak. I want everyone who's listening to hear about your journey. And I know you've done so many amazing things as this badass entrepreneur that you are. And now you are the president of the gallery. So the gathering, I want to hear kind of what that journey has looked like for you. But I think just based on where you are right now in this role of president, and meeting all of these mirrors, what is most active for you? What is reflecting to you right now?
What is most reflecting to me right now? Right now, this past year and stepping into this, I'm in obviously 2025 planning big time right now. This past year has been about stepping up to edges, to new edges, stretching myself. There's been a lot of times where I was like, oh shit, how am I going to do that? Oh, wow, I haven't done this before. This past year. And it was just a continuing, okay, just keep meeting the edge, keep meeting the edge. You can do it. And same stepping into this year, for context of that, I helped move the mission forward and we grew 40% this year. We had our biggest year yet. We went from 1,100 people to 1,500 people. We added stages. We added a new layer of soul to the event that wasn't there before. There was, the gathering was a brand and marketing conference, and it was always different. It was always on, there was always a lot of heart there. But I think with coming in and the way that we shaped the event this year was, can we add a little more human into it? In this rise of AI and everything that's happening and robots are taking over our marketing departments. I'm can we add some more heart and soul onto our stage? And can we get a little bit more vulnerable? And I think that was really received, but it was also a big risk. But I had to trust coming into this experience that I actually knew that that's where we needed to go. And I knew that's where we needed to go because I've seen that show up on my stages in the past at Rise. And, people don't necessarily sign up for that. They're not hey, I want to go to the conference that's going to make me cry and that's going to stretch me and challenge me and ask me to look in the mirror. They want to go to the conference that's going to give them the tools to succeed. They want the 7 steps. They want the roadmap. But people think that that's the way to go, but it's not. You actually need the other one. And we saw that. And I took a lot of risks this year, trusting that instinct and that intuition and that experience that I had. And I put speakers on the stage and I supported, some speakers in crafting their talk and just around this, the essence of personal leadership and resiliency and personal stories and things that they've overcome. And that was really well received. And same stepping into this year, it's okay, there's new edges to cross this year. And part of me is how are we going to beat that? Where I'm really up against is oh gosh, again, there's a little bit of, okay, how are we going to do that? That's big. We're planning on growing another 25% this year. We're adding a new stage. We're adding, I want to attract more Gary V's of the world to come, And I mean, prior to this last year, I didn't know how to get Gary Vee on a plane, but we did that.
You did that. You nailed it. It was so good.
So I think And I think this is this is always, it's like we're always stepping up to new edges. And if just in reflection of that, it's like the last few years have been about creating capacity for myself. And I've done that through letting go. I've done that through overcoming. I've done that through healing a lot of my inner child. I've done that through confronting the places that were really uncomfortable for me. And then this past year, I got to step into that capacity in taking on this role that was scary for me.
Yeah.
Leading more people, being more visible, taking up a bigger stage. I've never spoken in front of 1,500 people before. I've done that now. And it was like, oh, now I've stepped to that edge and I've shown myself what is possible. And I'm just sort of wanting to build momentum on that trust that I've created and that, that capacity within myself that it's like, okay, we've done that before. So that's strengthening the belief that we can do it again.
Yeah.
It's big though. It's a big vision and it's a big mission. And I've got a big team behind me and the stakes are really high, but I feel more confident than ever because I took the trenches route to get here. So it's like, we've been through some shit. We know we can do this.
We'll get into it. But
so I think it's like holding these two things at one time. It's holding like two emotions exist at one time. Two conflicting emotions can exist at one time. And there's like there's a part of me that's like, there's a little bit of imposter. And then there's the part of me that's like, you can fucking do this. But I also know that I know enough to say that imposter is always going to be there and the imposter is such a good sign because the imposter is like, well, of course you're going to feel like an imposter because you've never been there before. You've never blazed that trail before. No one has. There isn't a playbook. So it's, it's a sign that you're on the right path. So
I fucking agree 1000%.
Yeah.
I always say it, like imposter syndrome is a sign that you're doing it. You're doing it. Mandy, I just need to say and pause and like go back because we can't overlook this massive feat that you've accomplished. Like I just feel to witness you in your leadership of the gathering was so magical. And, I just want to say like, not only did you do it, you fucking nailed it. You nailed it, sis.
Thank
like
you.
Nailed it. It was amazing. And I know, I mean, you're busy and we didn't have a chance to talk, but it was the energy. It had soul. And I did branding marketing years ago. I felt absolutely called to come to this experience and experience it and also witness you in your magic. And it was just so, so powerful to see you on that stage.
It was
and
so
owning
special
it.
to have you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so special.
Everyone, you got to go to the gathering next. I'm just saying, I'm just like minor plug here about doing it because it was so inspirational. I'm still integrating things that I learned at that event. So,
well, the vision is to take it into a business festival. And this is, it's high performance brands require high performance leaders. And so with me leading this, the direction I really want to take this is that integration of personal wellness, personal leadership, to achieve big things. And you can have one without the other. Like the ingredient is you. And you strengthening yourself, you strengthening, what's going on in your inner world, the thoughts that you're having, how you're personally leading yourself, what you're saying yes to, what you're saying no to, how you're keeping promises with yourself, your morning routine, your core values, all these things. These are the ingredients for really experiencing your success, not just being successful, but experiencing your success.
Yes. Woo! So good.
And this has been, the journey to this has been everything like Rise, right? And so the journey, the Rise conference and experience that I created in 2019 was something I'm most proud of. Like the best work I had ever put out there. And I'm so proud of the impact and the ripple that had. And I'm so proud of what I built and the community that got to be shaped from that. And there, not a day goes by where I don't still see the impact of that. I don't see two people that connected that are collaborating on something, or, an idea that was sparked in one of those seats that's now like blossomed into this beautiful business or this beautiful thing, or, a person that has personally just like been, you can tell like their world was shifted from that. And I think that's the powerful piece about creating a movement or having a really like heart-centered piece of work, is that it lives far beyond
It's
you,
legacy.
Yeah, it's legacy. And like I do plan on doing another Rise one day. It's at this moment, this is where I get to make a really big impact with my work, and I'm being really, really called here. I'll do another Rise, but I also get to bring all that magic into this world that needs it right now.
Okay, pause. Did you hear that? She's doing another Rise.
Oh, there's a wait list. Go to the Instagram and just like there's a wait list.
Okay, clearly I'm gonna do that after.
We will do. No, you're already on the wait list. You're like good. Number 3.
Thank you, past self.
It's so funny. But there's a season for things, and this is the season that I'm in right now.
I'm so excited for your season. There's so much to discuss here. I would love to share just how I look at branding, actually, because I think what you're doing is exactly where this energy comes from, is around, for me in my brand work with clients, it's always about and I know you're the same. It's always about the energy. Yeah. And so with it, I've come to deepen into what is this really? Because when I work with people, whether I'm doing design or coaching, it's like, it's not about the fucking logo. It's not about the visuals, even though I love them and I'm particular about them. To me, your brand is your essence in the world. And
it's your heartbeat.
It's a heartbeat. And in terms of everything else. So like I've been stepping more fully into like exploring legacy and teaching people like legacy leadership, which is what we're all doing. Actually, your legacy is your energetic impact in the world. So branding is in fact legacy work, and leadership is legacy work. So it's like, I just hearing you speaking of Rise and, these impacts that you're having at these events where people are taking this and like, it's living on forever. It's so, so impactful. So I want to celebrate all of your legacy, because there's a lot.
Thank you.
So are you ready to kind of like tell us a bit about where you've been?
Sure. Let's go there.
When I did my Mandy motherfucking Balak deep dive, it was like she was selling herring and lemonade at age 8.
Born hustler. Born hustler. Yeah.
So I think I want to talk about your entrepreneur journey and just, let's just riff on like where you've been. I think it's a beautiful time to kind of reflect.
Yeah. Where do we start? On the dock?
Yeah. Sitting on the dock of the bay. That wasn't a cut clap. That was just a musical clap.
So good. Yeah. I was born into a family of entrepreneurs. So I am a born entrepreneur. And I mean, I was 7 years old when I remember being at my like parents' friend's house. Well, they were having a dinner party, my friend, and like I would always just be drawing pictures, whatever. And I remember someone asked me, they're like, "Can you draw a picture of what you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "Yeah, no problem. Let me whip something up for you." And they had dinner and came back, and I had been, just like sketching away, and I had I never had toys as a kid. I had sketchbooks and paper and freaking smelly markers.
Way better.
Way better. And they came back, and I'll never forget this picture that I had drawn. And it was a picture of myself. And I was carrying a little briefcase, and I had pointy cheetah shoes on. Maybe it wasn't, but as in my selective memory, I was wearing cheetah shoes.
Always.
And they're like, "What is this?" And I was like, "I want to be a CEO."
Ooh.
I want to be a CEO, and I'm going to be the boss. And that was a seed that was planted when I was very young. And I always knew I was a leader. I always knew I wanted to hold the responsibility of that. And I think I've just been, that's taken many different shapes for me. But at the core, I come back, I keep finding myself in this position. And yeah, that's I was 7 or 8 years old. So yeah, my dad taught me how to hustle fishermen for 10 cents off the dock and sell herring to pay for my candy as a kid. And I had my first job at McDonald's before I even had a social insurance number. I lied to them and I was like, yeah, I can totally work. Um, I'd take on like little jobs whenever I could as a kid. I loved work. I loved work. And it is such an expression of who I am.
Yeah.
Now there's a shadow side of that. I've definitely had to overcome a lot of workaholism and the roots of that run really deep and watching my mom, how she ran her business for many years, running herself into the ground. That was also, the dark side of entrepreneurship was really modeled to me as well. And over the years, I've had to learn a healthier way to do business and a healthier way to lead. But it truly is like just an identity for me.
I love that. Like, I can so feel that. I mean, she's done the longest list of things, you guys. Lots of amazing companies, businesses. But I also feel like I want to go back to Rise because I had the honor of being a part of that in 2022.
2022, we had literally, it was like, is it COVID? Is it not COVID? Are we allowed to hug? Are we not allowed to hug? Are we wearing masks? Are we not wearing masks? It was really weird.
It was weird, but it was awesome. And yeah, I kind of would love to hear because what I heard you share earlier was that you had to build a well for yourself. And what led you to kind of what happened? Like what happened between Rise and president of the gathering?
Totally. Yeah, I think to start at the beginning, Rise wasn't the first business. I want to start at the first. So I incorporated my first business. I think it was, I don't even know. I can't do the math. 15 years ago.
Okay.
15 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know how old I was. We won't give that away on this podcast today.
No, don't worry.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
And the original business was a company called Date Night. And this was founded from something that I deeply felt like I needed in my life at the time, which was I'm so sick of Friday night coming around and fighting over where to go for dinner with my significant other.
Yes.
Every relationship I had, it was like, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? Like this like dumb thing. It's like, you make the plans. You should make the plans. Blah, blah. So I just have this spirit of if it doesn't exist, you should create it.
Mm-hmm.
And that first business was founded from there. And then fast forward, I built that for 10 years and exited that and sold that. That was my gateway drug to entrepreneurship. Throughout that journey, I experienced how lonely entrepreneurship is. I also experienced how hard it was to how alone you feel, how hard it was, and how glamorized it was on the outside, but yet how excruciating it was on the inside. And so I was so busy like building the mission, and deep down, I was in deep desire for community. I was creating events and creating community for everyone else, but deep down, I really wanted it for myself. Fast forward to one of the hardest seasons of my life. My dad passed away, and then simultaneously I was shutting down another business I had, which was a magazine. And I was honestly just coping with work. I was coping with work. I was looking at myself in the mirror. I was feeling like a failure. I was heartbroken. And I couldn't actually be honest with anyone in my life about how I was feeling because I was trying to keep all these plates spinning and I was trying to hold it all together. And I had a young team that was looking to me for answers and I had no idea. I was like Googling what to do every day. I was like, I don't actually know, but I'm pretending that I do. And I'd put my leather jacket on and I would, go fake it every day. But I was so lonely and so I was so sad. It was one of the saddest seasons of my life. And so that inspired me to say, well, there's got to be other people that feel this way too. So let's create community. And what could that look like in this season? And that sparked me to create the ACE class. And that was originally, before it was a business, it was just an idea. It was a brunch to bring women together and create a space that was a safe space for people to meet each other, to connect. And I would invite these women, other women entrepreneurs, to come in and take the microphone and take the stage. And the guidance I would give them before they did that, I said, I don't want to hear your success stories. I want to hear what is real for you right now. I want to hear
Yes.
about not just the roses, but I want to hear about the thorns. I want to hear about where you struggle. I want to hear about where you get in your way. I want to hear where you fell down.
Mm,
And that to me is strength, and that is power, and that is connection. And that those vulnerable conversations created a movement. We were within 6 months, I had started these brunches in 6 cities across Canada. Within a year, like there was, we had like 15,000 women come out to these events. It was incredible. And it was the opening to the next chapter, which was creating Rise.
right.
How can we bring all these communities together into one space? And I had been traveling for conferences for years. I love like integrated learning, like getting out of the day to day. My environment is really important to me, so I don't like to work at a desk. I get inspired and take ideas from outside. So I always travel. And I remember I went to like the Girl Boss conference, and I was like, I got to bring this to Canada. Like I got to do something like this. And so Rise was born from this idea of, how do we create a bigger movement out of vulnerability? And really it was like personal leadership and entrepreneurship all intertwined together. And this, I didn't have the language for it back then, but I was just like really following this vibe of, if it doesn't exist, create it. And so the first Rise was created in 2019, and it was an amazing piece of work. We had 300 people come to Azu Ridge, which is this like beautiful place in Alberta. Um, I got Danielle Laporte on the plane, and she has been like a lifetime, mentor and someone I've really looked to and like aspired to have a career like hers and to speak like she does. And she's just been such an inspiration to me. And so it was my biggest goal, like, okay, let's get Danielle Laporte. Like, could we do that? And then we got Danielle Laporte. And then, we had Connor Beaton on the stage. We had Terry Cole. We had Selena Gray. We had so many incredible speakers. And it was just this like beautiful moment in time.
Mm.
And that was 2019. And then I did two Rise conferences that year, one in Vancouver. And then we were set to do one in March of 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. Actually, I think it was in April of 2020 because the event was supposed to be April 21st, 2020.
Mm.
And on March, whatever day, I remember sending an email to the whole community, and it was supposed to be our biggest one yet. We've got speakers booked from all over the place, and um, tickets are sold, the content is set, and in a moment it was like, okay, we're canceling the event. We're canceling the event. But community could not possibly be canceled for me at that time. I was like, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know how we're going to do this, but we have to keep going. And I had 9 people on my team at the time. And I remember I had to slowly let go of them one by one, on my bathroom floor. Probably each time it was like, fuck, like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to do this. Like all my revenue at that time was tied to live events. I hadn't yet figured out how to do an online community or coaching or any of that. So it was just, it was hard. It was hard. But I kept going. I did this like morning mindset thing on Instagram for 100 straight days. I did a morning.
I remember that.
Do you remember that? It was like, start your day with intention. Your day is as good as your mindset. And it was all about like, how do we stay in control, what we can be in control of when the whole world is out of control. And that just showing up and like, honestly, just being like so vulnerable and real with everybody at that time, being like, I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing it together. Like, let's just keep showing up.
Yes.
That kept like, okay, the wheels kept spinning and we just kept kind of building. And I had then figured out how to build an online community. I did an online summit. We did a Rise online. And then I had this date with the Fairmont, and it was like, when is the world going to be back? What is the world coming
Good
back?
question.
I don't know. I ended up doing 2 live conferences during COVID times. The one that you spoke at was the last one. The one in the middle was weird.
Yeah, it was.
It was like, oh, there was this like short little window of the world opened back up again. And on my way to that event, which I had to really scale back, there was only 100 people. And I remember we had to get like classroom tables instead of like sitting like we would normally sit in conference. It's like everyone had to have their own table
Their
to like have their
pods.
own space, their own little pod. Everyone had to wear masks, all the things. And we were like on stage and it was just very strange. But as the conference was kicking off, Calgary was shutting down.
Wow.
And so like minute by minute, we were getting shut down within the conference.
Wow.
But we did it. And you know, that still that ripple, like we really needed it at that time.
Yeah.
It was weird, but we really needed it. We needed community. We needed to come together and know that we weren't alone. We needed to get out of isolation and recognize that we're all experiencing the same thing in different ways. And we needed that spark. And so that served its purpose.
And yeah, I would say like from witnessing it, I wasn't there, but I know like Elise and Kylo and, you know, a lot of people I know were there, and I was there digitally.
Yeah.
And you know, I just want to say like, it wasn't the conference. It was weird. It was a time that was fucking weird.
It was a time that was weird. Yeah.
And so it was like, you actually, you know, womaned up again and met a need that was there that wasn't there and created it for everyone. And I just, again, want to give you a lot of props for making the impossible possible.
It was a moment. I actually got to go back and watch those recordings because, oh man. It was, yeah. But you know, sometimes these things don't make sense. And you're just like, I have to do this. Like everyone thought it was crazy. My husband's like, just cancel. Like I was like, it needed to, we needed it, you know?
Are you glad in hindsight that you didn't listen to everyone who thought you were crazy?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Like how often do people say to you, don't do that, or that's not going to work? And you can
all
feel
the time.
it. Let's
every
talk
day.
about the feeling, because you're my manifesting sister. You're a manifester in human design. Tell me about when you know something, how you know it, and how you do these amazing, wild, brave things in spite of what others might say.
Honestly, getting to know myself has been one of the most powerful things that I've done over the last few years, because before I had words and language around like you're a manifester or like embracing that part of my identity and understanding that who I am is to bring things to life that have never existed before. Like I believed them before. When people would say like, "Oh, that's a cute idea," or "You shouldn't do that," or
Cute.
"That'll never work." I believed them before. But now I believe myself. And I know like when I have an intuitive hit that's like, we got to go over here. I now know that is literally that I have to listen to that. And you know what? They are not going to understand, but I have to be willing to face rejection of them in the short term so that we as a collective can have a different way and can go a different way.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be a trailblazer, if you're like, you got to face a lot of rejection.
This is visionary shit.
You have to trust yourself. There's no playbook. People are going to look at you like you're freaking batshit. Like they're not going to jump on board right away. Mm-hmm. And there have been times when I have given up on myself because I didn't get an immediate hit of validation. And I regret those times. I regret those times more than the times that that you just go for it and fail. I actually regret the times that I didn't.
Yeah.
Or that I didn't sit in it long enough. Because what I've had to learn is that as a visionary, you have to sit in rejection for longer than you want. But don't reject yourself.
Ooh, tell us more.
I think we as human beings, we want validation. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. This is like a core need of all of us. And so that can really hold back a creative process, or it can really hold back like bringing something to life, because we want to be met with, wow, that's great. That's amazing. I understand. I see you. Yes. Like, cheerleading on that, or people to understand.
Yeah.
But we can often we can get that resistance because someone is feeling you're making them uncomfortable. They're not ready for that change. They're not gonna, they're like, I don't agree. That's not for me. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, how I look at rejection is when I'm feeling rejected by someone else, I actually look in the mirror and say, where am I rejecting myself? Where am I not letting my truth be seen? Where am I trying to fit into a mold so that I make them more comfortable? Where am I holding back so that the collective doesn't feel something? But you know what? That's like actually just me hiding and conforming. It's not me being in my truth. So
Yeah.
I think this relationship with yourself is so important. And if you're feeling rejection, where are you rejecting yourself?
Yeah. I love that.
In the middle of bringing things to life before, I have given up and I've walked away because I wasn't met with support right away. I should have held on longer, honestly. I have regrets towards that. Well, I don't regret anything because I believe it's a reflection. Like I believe that it's all part of the path, but if I could go back, I would do it differently, and I would have stood in my belief firmer.
Yeah.
I would have done that. Yeah. So I think, and that's part of the journey, right? Like, Rise, the last one, so far, the last one that was in 2022, not the last one, to be clear. It was a big cracking open for me. And it really represented to me the beginning of a new book and the closing of an era for me, and a closing of a chapter. And the chapter that it closed for me was no longer believing that I had to suffer to earn a living,
To succeed.
that I no longer needed to suffer to succeed, that I no longer needed to do things alone, that I no longer needed to build at my expense of my well-being. And honestly, I built every one of my businesses from that place, and I needed to tear it down.
Ooh, full body shifts. Okay. The tear down. What'd that look like?
The teardown, I didn't realize I was tearing it down. It was really interesting. And this is just like truths right here that I'm not sure I've shared anywhere, but we're going there. Mohair Monday. If that part gets cut out of the story, I'm wearing this mohair sweater that is so itchy right now. But anyways, we're doing this. Mohair Monday. The message at the last Rise, was around, if you're going to be a leader, you need to learn how to receive. And I think that I know that this is the ultimate challenge in leadership. It's why so many entrepreneurs and so many companies get to a certain size and then they fail. It's why people like build teams and then scale back. It's why people meet edges of growth and why they plateau, is because they have not yet learned how to receive. They have not yet learned how to receive support. They have not yet learned how to receive at a bigger capacity. They're stuck. And there's all these beliefs that hold us back from that, right? And so I had this belief that, one, I need to suffer to be successful because I watched my mother do it. I watched my mom work 24/7, like have all sorts of stress disorders and TMJ and not sleeping and, going into work at all hours of like just being like consumed by it, not being present. Like I watched that. I believed that I didn't know my own value, so I would do a lot of things for free. I wasn't sure about how to charge for, what I was offering. I really struggled with that, with my own sense of value. And I kept building these constructs and these businesses that at the foundation of it were these beliefs. And so it didn't matter how much success I created or how big the movement got or how big the community got or whatever. Like I was subconsciously like hitting these edges within myself because of it.
Yeah.
And even after I learned that, so I was like, oh wow, I just figured this out about myself. Like I met my inner child. I saw where she was still hurting. I saw it all and I healed her. But yet I was still trying to carry this thing that I had created out of all that hurt. And I had created from out all that pain. And I had created from this foundation that had cracks in it. So no matter what I did, even though I was healthier, that was the house that I built.
Yes, that was the foundation.
So I got to a point where I was like, I can't keep building on top of this. I need to tear it down because I have to start fresh. And I sort of thought that starting fresh might take like a couple months. Standard. I remember like Rise last year, or in 2022, I finished the conference and I took myself to Mexico and I went to Tulum by myself for a week. And it was really the significance of like, this is a new you, this is a new era. To know and not do is to still not know, like, and I needed space. I needed space to integrate because I think that I had I shared my truth on the stage like I had never shared before. I shared my vulnerability. I shared how I tried to walk out on my marriage. I shared that I shared the shame stories that I had experienced as a kid around money. And I shared it all. And then that chapter I needed to grieve it and I needed to let it go. And so that space turned into, well, I'm still taking it. It's 2024. That was 2022. In between, I tried to ignite a new evolution of it. I had shut down the name, the ACE Collective. I'd taken a pause on Rise. I rebranded The Well, which is really about really the voice and the mission that I'm standing from today. And it's about trusting your inner resources and leading well and living fully. But I was trying to switch to that too quickly. And in that, I was met with a lot of resistance. A lot of resistance within myself, a lot of resistance from others. People didn't really get it. They're like, we were here and now we're here. And it was like, I was trying to move too quickly. And what I really needed to do was sit with myself. And I needed to reconcile and heal. And I needed to integrate because I think the fully embodied leader is what we need in this world, not people that just talk about it, but people who live it and people who walk the walk. And stepping into this role at the gathering came at that time. I was offered this role and I'd been offered it for years. Like I have been coming to the gathering for 10 years. Ryan and Chris, the founders, collaborated with them many times. And they've tried to poach me for years. Like, come run this, come run. I'm like, no, I'm building my own thing. I'm doing my thing. And it was August of 2023, I think. I got my annual call from Ryan. He's like, hey, come meet me for dinner. I was like, yeah, okay, I know what this is about. But there was an interest. It was interesting because I was like, oh, wait a second. I'm actually interested right now. And that surprised me. At that time, I had never been more clear about the mission I wanted to bring to life. I'd never been more clear about the type of leader I wanted to be. I'd never been more clear about what it looked like to build in a healthy way. I also was having a ton of success at the time with my clients, with my groups, with coaching. Like things were really good. And this opportunity was uncomfortable. And I had to say yes, because I was like, can I be the coach that leads it and lives it, not just teaches it?
Ooh, the embodied leader.
The embodied leader. And so when I said yes, I was, the well-resourced leader, the embodied leader. Yeah. And that's the mission. And when I said yes to the challenge, I said, this is an opportunity for me to step into myself. This is an opportunity for me to build in a healthy way. This is an opportunity for me to test my limits and see if we can expand our capacity. And I'm so grateful that I did. And that wasn't it was an uncomfort. I sat in that discomfort. I think even for the first 6 months of the role, I was like, this is uncomfortable. But something happened in like June, July last year. And I was like, wow, this was the best idea ever. I'm so grateful I did this, because
Oh, wow.
I got to witness myself really expand and really stretch and see what I'm capable of. And my measure of success this year was that my team got to the finish line and we were all healthy and we were all happy and we achieved our goals. We hit all our targets. We had the best event ever, but we were all well resourced. And we did.
Amazing.
And to me, that's the greatest success. More than the numbers, it was the journey, the experience, and the fact that we really did it in a really healthy way. And to me, that was healing. That was so healing,
Ooh.
because I showed my little girl self that I did not need to suffer in order to be successful. I showed my little girl self that my voice mattered and my voice made an impact.
Yeah.
And the ripple, I tell you, I mean, I was having 200, 300 people at my events before, and to now be leading this community and this movement that has a global impact and global reach, and the types of leaders that are doing the work that they're doing in the world, like I just know that ripple is 10x. And that is so powerful. I feel very humbled by that.
Yeah. I feel very emotional about that.
Mm.
Yeah. Just so celebrating you around where you've been, where you've come. And one of my questions that I wanted to ask is like, what would you tell your little girl now? And I feel like you did more than just tell her, you literally showed her.
Showed her.
Yeah. That's a walk in the walk.
Mm-hmm.
One kind of thing before we start to wrap up, I wanted to reiterate. It felt really potent when you said, the piece around discomfort, which I know is required in order to experience joy in this lifetime. Like we need to meet and move through it. And you just shared how you did that. It was huge discomfort and a huge win on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I just want to remind listeners that like, do it, don't let it stop you.
And I think we have to really trust the process. We really do. And I've been through enough shit in my life to trust the process, because I know, like, I've been to the other side of the dark night so many times that I can now be in a place where I'm like, okay, I realize this is happening for a reason, but this is the message for someone that's in that season right now and maybe hasn't been to the other side, or maybe they've just forgotten what that looks like. Is you have to really trust the process and trust that there is a lesson here for you. There is a path here for you. There is something here for you to grow from and to learn from. And don't push it away and don't resist it. Like, surrender to it and ask every day, like, receive it. What is this here to teach me? I am grateful for this. Like, in the hardest days that I have right now, where I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that, or I'm going to get through that. Like, I sit in it and I'm like, I trust that this is one of the dots that I'm collecting right now that is showing me another way, that is guiding me towards a path. And, that didn't work out the way that I thought it was, or, that's a failure today, but it's leading you somewhere that maybe you can't even imagine. It's not on the vision board currently, but maybe your vision's being expanded. Maybe you're being up-leveled. Maybe you're being worked on and you're being stretched in ways that are way bigger than you knew were possible for yourself. And so you have to trust it. And I just love the quote. Steve Jobs has a quote. He's like, you can't collect the dots looking forward. You can only collect dots looking backwards. And that is such a symbolism of my role at the gathering. My first business, my office space was out of the gathering office, like so
Oh,
many
are you
years ago.
serious?
Yeah, like and I'm in the office, I'm staring at it. I'm like, my date night office was over there. Like every day I walk by that girl.
Wow.
And I used to go to the gathering every year. And I remember there was years, it was like early entrepreneurship days. I had no money. Like I slept on the side of the road to drive home from Vancouver one time in the terrible snow and sleet because all the flights were canceled. But I was like, I got to go to the gathering.
Wow.
There are things we get pulled to that we don't understand now. And it might be years before we understand it. There's hard seasons we go through that we could not possibly understand what the lesson is until that serendipitous moment when you're standing on stage and it's the biggest stage you've ever been on and Gary Vee's about to come on and you're like, oh, that's why I overdraft my account to stay in that hotel that time. Like
That's why I went through the sleet and snow.
that's why I did it, you know? And
Wow.
so we're being led to different seasons and different chapters. And, sometimes we think we're turning a new page, but we're actually turning a new book. And sometimes we think we're opening a new book, but really we got to linger on this past page a little bit longer. We just have to really trust the process and trust the season that we're in and learn to love it and find joy in the journey, even when it's a challenging one.
Yeah, because there's nothing to say, Mandy. Like literally, I was
Joy.
like, I was like, yeah, because joy.
Yeah, because joy.
Literally.
Joy.
Like, that's why. That's it. Wow. That was just so powerful. Like I'm so grateful for you, for your time, for your energy in this world, to know you and love you and get to connect with you and, bring your wisdom to kind of my realm and my community. And, I think I just want to leave with, what's kind of active for you. If you could share with us where to find you, like what you're up to, how people can, step in with you, whoever feels aligned, and maybe a little bit more about the gathering, and then we'll wrap it up.
I love it. So my personal brand world is really simple right now. I have The Well, and this is something that I'm continuing to work on. I have a podcast, and then I also have a weekly newsletter, and I share one actionable tip to help you lead well and live fully. I send my emails on Sundays, so you can come find me on all the platforms and subscribe to my newsletter. I love that. And I have different coaching groups and things like that I put on throughout the year. I'm actually in the process of publishing my first book. And in 2025, I'm going to be testing out a lot of the work that's in the book through workshops and little small groups. So keep an eye out. Like if you're interested in some of the things I've been talking about today, I have little opportunities to work alongside me and to help you expand into your leadership as well. As I bring that book baby to life, which my due date is the gathering. So I plan on having a keynote at the gathering and having a book in my hand by October 2025. So
Yes.
Then the road to the gathering right now is it's in October 2025 in Banff. If you've never heard of it, check it out. Jillian will drop all the links and things like that. The thing that's really alive for me as I'm stepping into this new year and stepping into this next evolution of myself is, who do I want to be on that stage? And how am I showing up as her every day? So that's the question that I'm really asking myself, is what's the story that I want to tell at the end of the year? And how are the decisions and choices and rituals and things that I'm saying yes to every day helping me get towards her right now too? So I always love to think about, like, start with the end in mind and work backwards. So.
Ooh, that's a gooder to leave it on. Start with the end in mind and work backwards. So good, Mandy Balak.
I'm so proud of you. Thank you for having me.
Oh
Thank you for this conversation. Love you, love you, love you.